And welcome back to Sunday Square Off. Democratic U.S. Senate candidate and attorney Deidre Abboud was thrust into the news last July after ugly attacks on social media on her Muslim faith. Republican Senator Jeff Flake came to her defense, and she has continued her campaign for the Senate. Joining us this morning, Deidre Abboud. Good to see you.
Glad to be here.
You would be the first Muslim elected to statewide office in Arizona, and perhaps even to any office. You've said your husband told you you could take off your scarf, your headscarf, if you wanted, for safety reasons. How has that played out now over the last several months since we last spoke?
Well, I mean, his concern, and especially the rhetoric that's going around the country, he was concerned that I'm kind of a flag for people who want to hate other people. And he said it would be fine with him if I took it off, but I explained to him that I didn't put it on for him, so I didn't need his permission.
And has that, that social media, the stuff, the sick stuff we see there, has that abated? Is it just is it part of your job now? Is it just part of your life, the background noise?
Whether I ran for office or not, that's always a part of people who have characteristics that make them an other, and Muslims are the flavor of the month, but they're not the flavor on the menu. So, for me, it's just online, but I've been traveling all over Arizona since April. Clearly, people have been very accepting and open. You meet people as people and you talk about things that matter, and we can all find common ground.
Okay, so what matters to you as a U.S. Senate candidate representing the people of Arizona?
One of the things is accountability. I think that we need to hold our leaders accountable. Another one is transparency. We need to know what's going on. They have a responsibility to let us know what these things that they're voting on mean, and not just the rhetoric. And also meeting with people. And I've definitely shown leadership, making sure that I travel all over Arizona, meeting with anybody at any time to have these discussions, because this is what's going to bring us back together as a country and a state. Talk
about some of the big issues. Immigration. That is a hot button issue in any Arizona statewide race. Where do you stand on it? Do you support a pathway to citizenship? Where do you fall?
We've got to have reasonable immigration reform. That's absolutely required. We have over 11 million people here who are basically living under cover in fear, and that's not really reflective of the United States that was created and that we want going forward. And we need to stop separating it into the good, poor kids of DACA and their bad parents, because that's separating families, which family unity is part of the makeup of the United States.
So what would you do about the parents who right now are undocumented and really have no hope of being legalized?
The same thing that we were talking about before. And this was actually progressing before September 11th, that they were looking at DACA and they were looking at what to do with their family as well, looking at people who came here, they're undocumented, but giving them a path for correction, saying you haven't done anything else wrong. You have contributed to society, you've raised good kids, you sent them to school, you had jobs, you even paid taxes using tax ID numbers since you couldn't do it any other way. Let's find a way for you to self-correct so that we can keep your family together and keep the kind of people in the United States that do help the United States prosper.
Well, I get into a bit of your history. You helped found a Muslim civil rights group here, a decade ago or more, CARE. You've talked to reporters about how you helped two men who were charged in alleged terrorism cases. One of them was Elton Simpson. This goes back to 2010. Just a couple of years ago, he was killed in a terror attack. Can you explain what that help was all about?
Actually, I never helped him. What happened was the community contacted me. I've never met him. And they wanted to know how to post his bond. And so I sent them to a bonding agency and taught them how to navigate that system. And that was a different charge. It wasn't necessarily about terrorism, and that's not what he was convicted of. But I wasn't directly involved with that, but I would actually do that for anybody. Anybody is accused of a crime, they have the right to face their accuser, go to trial, and have bond.
Now, you're going up against Kyrsten Sinema. You've been a supporter of her, a financial donor of hers for the last several cycles. You've given her $2,500, including a donation as recently as April. So you liked her well enough to donate money to her campaign. What are the differences between the two of you now as you face each other in a Democratic primary?
Well, I mean, I originally went into this race to unseat Flake, and Kyrsten wasn't on the radar. So my support of Kyrsten didn't change. She's the one that joined the party later, so she's actually racing against me. But, I feel that a lot of things that Kyrsten has done is kind of flip-flopped, and I believe in reaching across the aisle and compromising. But we've got to decide what our platform issues are. What do we think is not compromisable? And there are some things. Women's rights, separation of church and state, net neutrality. I mean, these things should be non-negotiable. And also health care for all.
All right, Deidre Abboud, thanks very much for joining us. Best of luck.
All right, thank you.